So there's been this really shitty trend that I've noticed developing over the last year or so within the Star Wars community, and that's blaming the Jedi Council for Anakin's turn to the dark side. Seriously, go on almost any video with a prequel clip where Anakin and the Jedi Council are interacting, and there'll be people in the comments trashing the Jedi Council. Well, just look at this. Jedi Council, the boy is too dangerous. Also Jedi Council, yeah, let's treat him like a dumpster. Nothing will possibly go wrong. How about this one? The child who's not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. I mean, that sounds good and all, but come on, you know? So he destroyed the Jedi Council because they weren't giving him enough good vibes? It's just ridiculous. And I think people who make these kind of arguments, while I understand them, yes, the Jedi were arrogant. Yes, Mace Windu and Yoda weren't always kind and understanding towards Anakin. And you know, Mace Windu even admitted he didn't trust him, and maybe that wasn't such a great thing. But I think these arguments take away a lot of what George Lucas is actually trying to portray in the prequels, and really just miss the point of what the Jedi Council is all about. So while the Jedi Council was overconfident and even arrogant in its own abilities, you have to understand that they had been fostering peace throughout the galaxy for the past 1,000 years, right? Their system was working, their philosophy was working, right? And if you look at what George Lucas kind of based the Jedi philosophy on, it's mainly based on Buddhism and this idea of emptying the mind, letting go of attachments, letting go of worldly possessions, so you are able to essentially sacrifice yourself and serve others, right? It's not about thriving. It was never about being the happiest, most pleasured self you can be and living your best life. It was not about that. The Jedi Council was always about sacrificing yourself, sacrificing what you care about to serve others, right? So it's mainly Buddhist. You know, there's other elements, like there's definitely some Christian elements there too about, you know, denying yourself and taking up your cross. I mean, in a lot of ways, it really was about suffering. The Jedi Council was about serving others at the sacrifice of yourself. So when Yoda tells Anakin, you know, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering, right? George Lucas isn't trying to portray Yoda as some arrogant prick, right? He's trying to portray Yoda as a wise sage, right? This stoic master, right? There's this aspect of stoicism in the Jedi Council, right? We don't want to feel intense pleasure. We don't really want to feel intense pain either. We want to maintain this neutral ground of objectivity. And Yoda warns him about that, right? He warns him about that. And people act like the Jedi Council was never loving towards Anakin. Just look at Obi-Wan. Look at all the times Obi-Wan was there for him, and just how encouraging and kind Obi-Wan. Just watch Revenge of the Sith again, right? Obi-Wan was always there for Anakin, and even Yoda was, right? If you remember in Attack of the Clones, Yoda sits down with Anakin, and, you know, they have a meeting. Anakin tells him about, you know, the pain that he's been experiencing, the dreams he's been having, and Yoda just says, don't be afraid to lose it. Let go, right? And be mindful of the living force. That's the point. That's the point of the Jedi, and it had been working forever, right? Deny yourself. Serve others. Sacrifice. That's the point. And what Yoda and Obi-Wan were telling Anakin, it's pretty much the truth, or at least, you know, from the Jedi's perspective, from their order, from their philosophy, it's what's been working, right? Now, I thought my computer was going to crash there, but, so just blaming them for his turn is really stupid, because it's putting all the burden on them and putting none on Anakin. And I feel like in a lot of ways, and I don't want to get too political here, but it's this overarching culture of blame shifting in our society. We always want to blame someone. We always want to be the victim in some regards. And I'm not pointing to a particular side or a particular group. I think everybody's doing this right now, right? It's never your fault. It's never anything you did. It's not about free will or, you know, your decisions in life. It's someone else pushing you, you know, we got to go to a psychiatrist and talk about how our parents, fucked us up, or how whatever, how society has cast us out. And I just think that's stupid. Another reason I think this argument is not the greatest is because it also diminishes some of the power, or doesn't fully appreciate the power that Palpatine has, right? Because a lot of this is saying that, oh, it's the Jedi that pushed him away, that pushed him, Palpatine was nice and accepting, but, Palpatine was the most powerful Force user, at least in my opinion, at that time, and, the Jedi even admitted it, that they had their vision clouded, their ability to use the Force had diminished, so they even knew that they were kind of being manipulated by some dark power, they just didn't know who it was, and to say that, it's the Jedi that pushed Anakin away, is also to diminish some of the power that Palpatine wielded at that time, right? Because Palpatine was planting these thoughts in Anakin's mind. He was manipulating these insecurities, these feelings, these attachments. Anakin felt like he needed Palpatine. And you can see the struggle within him till the very end, right? Where he's faced there with, do I choose between Windu or Palpatine? Do I choose between the Jedi Council or, the person who says he can save my wife? And, people act like, Anakin chose to kill Windu because when Windu was mean to him. But that might have been a small part of it, but really it was his attachment to Padme, who he loved more than anything, and he was attached to more than anything. And, Palpatine promised to save her, right? Windu, they weren't promising that kind of stuff. Palpatine had manipulated Anakin so intensely, right? So I just think, take some of the power away from Palpatine, right? And the argument sucks. It's a stupid argument, and I don't know if these are younger fans coming up and saying this kind of stuff, because I grew up with the prequels as well. I have equal nostalgia towards them, and I love the prequels. I think they form a cohesive story with the originals, but it takes away a lot of the moral philosophy that is Star Wars. It's this Buddhism, mainly Buddhism, a little bit of Christianity, a little bit of other religions. It's about peace, it's about sacrifice, it's about emptying your mind, all these kinds of things. That's what the Jedi was about. So I just want to find the Jedi Council and just hug them and say, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault, alright? It's not your fault.
Because it's not their fault, What, Mace Windu was a little stern with him, they didn't appreciate Anakin's fear, I guess, at losing his mother, and I guess you could say one of the main problems is that they trained him to begin with. That could have been a big problem right there. He probably shouldn't have been trained. It's quite possible he was too old. But, we know what happened with Luke. Luke was able to fulfill the prophecy and to do essentially what Anakin was not able to do, or at least bring Anakin to be able to fulfill the prophecy. And I don't know. There's a lot of ways to approach this argument, but that's just my take right now. I think it's dumb. I think it's blame shifting. It doesn't appreciate all the times the Jedi Council were there for him, and it doesn't appreciate Palpatine's power of manipulation and also Anakin's own free will to make the choice. He could have denied Padme. He could have let go of his mother, but he couldn't do those things. And I get that. I don't think I could have done those things either necessarily, right? I don't think any of us necessarily could have. But that's what it takes to be a Jedi. You have to live up to a higher standard. You have to be willing to sacrifice those things. Anakin couldn't do it, right? And Palpatine used that as leverage, and that's why he turned to the dark side. The Jedi Council being mean to him, okay, maybe he had like 1% to do with that, but that's not the point of the story. That's not what George Lucas is trying to get across. That is not the overarching philosophy or the narrative of Star Wars. Well, I've said my piece. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.